The dark and entertaining Yellowjackets series left us guessing. Who gets eaten? What's up with the eyeless man? If you need something to take your mind off the many unanswered questions and tide you over till season 2 premieres, you've come to the perfect place. From mysteries to teen dramas and throwbacks to the 90s, stick around till the end for the top 8 shows you should watch while waiting for season 2 of Yellowjackets. First off, we have The Wilds. The Wilds is a thrilling story of high school ladies fighting for survival in the wilderness after getting stranded on a remote island after their plane crashes. The teenagers were on the way to Hawaii for the Dawn of Eve self-improvement retreat their parents sent them to. Does the basic storyline ring any bells? Any Yellowjackets fan gets it, but the young women in this movie are in a more sinister situation. Their plane crash was no accident. They're part of a twisted social experiment, and their every move is being watched. And as these young women are battling to survive on this island, they also find themselves forced to tackle delicate topics, including sexual abuse, unhealthy relationships, and eating disorders. The Wilds is also a show about teenage girls' challenges, but unlike Yellowjackets, the characters in The Wilds don't know each other at the start of the series. Thus, the drama centers on people from completely different backgrounds working together for survival. Although the pilot episode reveals the show's central twist, there are still many uncertainties and unanswered questions to ponder. While it was canceled after only 2 seasons, the show is still worth a watch. Next up is Lost. Okay, you may think this is a very obvious selection, but we have no choice but to include it because this list wouldn't be very accurate if we didn't. Although Lost only features adults and a youngster named Walt, the show includes many of the Yellowjackets elements that fans enjoy. Lost's primary focus is on a group of people who survive when their plane crashes on an uninhabited island. Initially, the story seems straightforward. The survivors of the crash of Oceanic Airlines Flight 815 on an uncharted island have no idea how to handle the situation. This is where the individual histories, secrets, and emotional baggage of the stranded survivors come into the light. Like Yellowjackets, Lost alternated between present-day events on the island and earlier events in the show's development, with a little sprinkle of time travel. Yellowjackets has been called a mystery box show, a genre made popular by Lost, which similarly gave fans just fragments of information while constantly raising new questions. Though the series' conclusion was controversial, the first 2 seasons of ABC's Lost remain excellent TV. And now we have The Society. Although only some of Yellowjackets athletes went home, at least there was a place for them to get back to. The teens in The Society are dealing with an entirely different issue. After returning from a canceled field trip, they discover that their hometown of West Ham, Connecticut is totally deserted. A forest surrounds West Ham, making matters worse, and they appear to be cut off from the outside world and are unable to communicate with it. These teenagers must learn to survive in a strange environment as they are cut off from the rest of the world and confined to the city. And as you might predict from a town built by teenagers, petty arguments and hormones make it difficult to coordinate and maintain. It's fascinating to see how alliances are formed, how they take on unexpected responsibilities in this new world structure, and how teenagers become obsessed with controlling grocery store inventory. When compared to the Yellowjackets contingent, the situation may appear a little more civilized at first, but things quickly turn violent and tragic. Also, who knew teenagers just like organizing school dances when confronted with their own mortality? Although Netflix had already renewed The Society for a 2nd season, the show was ultimately canceled because of the pandemic. Next on the list is Good Girls. If you like the idea of a group of suburban mothers and their friends pulling off low-key heist while also learning about themselves in the process, then Good Girls might just be right for you. The plot of this crime show centers on 3 mothers who are living paycheck to paycheck in a suburban suburban area of Michigan. They devise a plan to commit a large-scale robbery at a supermarket, but instead find themselves deeply involved in a much more serious situation involving a criminal organization that is using the supermarket as a front. As the story progresses, the stakes get higher, and they find themselves immersed in a journey that gets more dangerous and exciting with each new episode. Now we have the 100. Attractive teenagers sent out into the wilderness to fend for themselves on a devastated Earth. What else could you want? Despite the fact that Yellowjackets showed us how betrayals and secrets may ruin interpersonal relationships, it has done it in a manner that is fitting for what many people refer to as prestige TV. Less guilty pleasure and more of, you gotta watch this. Like you might anticipate from a show produced by the CW, the dramatic series The 100 takes the other turn. Its premise, that over a century after a nuclear event almost eradicates life on Earth, the last remnants of humanity are living in a space station in Earth's orbit, allows for a great deal of wildness. And the adults, as is their way, sent 100 troubled youths back to Earth to try to restore order. Very normal adult behavior. The so-called 100 proceeds as smoothly as you might guess. When they return to Earth, they find survivors of the nuclear attacks. But the real drama lies within the cliques of the teenagers themselves. Like in Yellowjackets, stretching out the story gives the characters a lot more time to grow and make real connections that will keep surprising you. And now for The Leftovers. Other than sharing Damon Lindelof as a creator, The Leftovers has more in common with Yellowjackets than Lost. Unlike Yellowjackets and Lost, The Leftovers does not depict a plane accident or portray time, but it shares many of the latter's philosophical questions about the nature of survival and what it means to actually live. This criminally underestimated supernatural thriller follows the aftermath of the sudden departure, in which 140 million people worldwide vanish without a trace. No one knows why, no one knows where. A world in which practically everyone has experienced the death of a loved one under such tragic circumstances changes everything. Although The Leftovers has a reputation for being suffocatingly somber and serious, it constantly surprises the audience and maintains a dark sense of humor, especially when it toys with traditional conceptions of masculinity through its existentially troubled protagonist, Kevin Garvey. Next up, we have Dare Me. Are you interested in more mean girls and murder? If yes, you are going to like Dare Me. This television series is adapted from a novel about the darker side of high school cheerleading. The shift in power dynamics between Jackie and her best friend Shauna was one of the most compelling aspects of the first season of Yellowjackets. This was demonstrated by watching Jackie realize that her queen bee status was useless to her while she was out in the woods. This kind of poisonous connection is at the core of Dare Me as well, with top girl and master manipulator Beth and her best friend Addie. Beth's worst instincts only become more pronounced after the arrival of a new enigmatic coach named Willa Fitzgerald, who changes things up not just on the team, but also in the relationship between Beth and Addie. The cheerleading squad members find themselves entangled in a web of deceit that includes murder, infidelity, and a lot of other shocking turns. The mystery at its center is only gradually revealed, but the ride there is straight out of a soap opera and worth every minute. Even though the show aired for only one season, it was still able to provide a conclusion that was both startling and satisfying. And finally, Santa Clarita Diet. Maybe you got into Yellowjackets for the promise of cannibalism, and you were eventually let down by the scarcity of it. The Santa Clarita Diet is the best option if you want to see someone devour another person on TV. It depicts the extremely regular Hammond family, consisting of Dad, Joel, Timothy Oliphant, Mom, Sheila, Drew Barrymore, and their daughter, Abby, Yellowjackets' Liv Hewson, whose peaceful lives are flipped upside down as Sheila transforms into a zombie. The program is a genuine comedy of errors, as it is filled with cartoonish violence, as well as quick-paced and unashamedly silly narratives. It is a likable and hilarious series that is at its best when it really leans into the genuine bewilderment of its overwhelmed characters. These characters are just trying to keep themselves going while they figure out what to do with a loved one who has suddenly started craving the taste of human flesh. The 3 seasons were filled with hilarious, gory fun, but it was sadly canceled before it actually got the chance to finish things up. And there you have it. Different shows with cannibalism, high school drama, flashbacks, and heaps of 90s nostalgia. We would love to know your thoughts. What do you think will happen in season 2? Will there be any more surprises? Keep the conversation going in the comments section. Thanks for watching and see you in another video.